The sun warmed the monastery grounds. As disciples gathered near the serene figure of Buddha under the great Bodhi tree, Buddha spoke softly, guiding the crowd with his wisdom. As the gentle breeze carried his words through the peaceful atmosphere, among the gathering, Jatila, a wealthy merchant burdened by familial strife, approached Buddha with a plea for clarity and guidance. "Blessed One," Jatila began, his voice trembling with emotion, "my brothers and I quarrel over our father's wealth. Division breaks us." Buddha's gaze met Jatila's, his eyes calm and penetrating, as he prepared to enlighten the troubled merchant with truth. "Jatila," Buddha said, his voice steady, "tell me, do the roots of the Bodhi tree hoard its water selfishly?" Jatila hesitated, reflecting on the wisdom contained in the seemingly simple question Buddha posed before him. "No, Master," Jatila replied softly. "The roots draw from the earth to nourish the tree and offer shade and fruit freely." Buddha nodded, pleased with Jatila's understanding, and began unfolding the profound truth hidden within nature's generosity. Material wealth, like water, Buddha continued, is meant to flow freely, bringing nourishment and sustenance, not greed and division. Jatila's brows furrowed with thought as he tried to grasp the deeper meaning of Buddha's analogy. About wealth and virtue, greed, Buddha explained, binds the soul to suffering. Release your grasp and discover the peace that sharing and compassion provide. The disciples exchanged glances, absorbing Buddha's profound teachings, their hearts moved by the clarity and simplicity of his words. "Great Master," Jatila began again, "but how can one share without feeling that he gives away his rightful inheritance?" Buddha raised his hand gently, signaling quiet as he prepared to offer his response. Rich with wisdom and compassion, a true inheritance, Buddha said, is not found in gold and possessions but in the legacy of kindness, wisdom, and unity. Jatila felt his heart soften under the guidance of Buddha's truth, his burden lifting with the dawning realization of selflessness. "Shall I share equally, Master?" Jatila asked, seeking further clarity on how to approach his brothers and resolve their conflict. "Not equally," Buddha answered, "but justly. Share according to need, not greed, for true balance lies within mindful generosity." The gentle rustle of leaves added weight to Buddha's words, as the gathered disciples contemplated the challenge of human desires. Buddha leaned forward slightly, his presence drawing the crowd closer as the teachings sank deeper into their minds and hearts. "Attachment to wealth blinds the spirit," Buddha said. "Understand that possessions are fleeting. Virtue alone endures beyond this physical life." Jatila's shoulders relaxed as Buddha's teachings brought a sense of clarity, reducing the heavy weight of his familial obligations. "Master," Jatila asked hesitantly, "how can I convince my brothers to accept such wisdom and overcome their greed and distrust?" "Approach with humility," Buddha replied, "for humility disarms anger and opens hearts to truth. Show your love through action and patience." The disciples murmured their assent, recognizing the power of humility to transcend anger and pave the path toward peace and reconciliation. Buddha turned his gaze to the group gathered beneath the Bodhi tree, emphasizing the universality of his teachings to all humanity. "Generosity is not reserved for the wealthy," Buddha said. "Even a kind word or a small act can plant seeds of peace." Jatila bowed deeply before the Buddha, grateful for the guidance that had planted the seed of hope within his troubled heart. "I will strive to follow your teachings," Jatila declared, "and serve as a vessel of generosity and compassion within my family." Buddha smiled, his expression serene and encouraging, knowing his wisdom had taken root in the mind of his troubled disciple. The warm sunlight of the monastery faded slightly as Jatila retreated to his home, carrying with him Buddha's life-changing teachings. Buddha addressed his disciples again, using Jatila's story as an example of the timeless challenge of balancing material wealth and virtue. Brothers and sisters, Buddha said, inheritance should unite, not divide, for division feeds suffering and distracts from life's greater truths. The disciples listened intently, their minds growing with Buddha's teachings. As his words illuminated the depths of human complexity, inheritance, Buddha continued, is not merely possessions. Wisdom, patience, and virtue are the greatest treasures we pass on to loved ones. The gathering under the Bodhi tree remained silent, each individual reflecting on their own attachments and desires to material wealth. Do not fear the loss of wealth, Buddha said. Fear instead the loss of peace, compassion, and love within your family. The breeze carried away Buddha's words, as though nature herself conspired to scatter his teachings far and wide across the earth. As the sun set over the monastery, Buddha's disciples carried his wisdom within their hearts, ready to share it with others. Buddha's lessons echoed in Jatila's actions, as he sought to transform his family's conflict into understanding, unity, and mutual kindness. The Bodhi tree stood steadfast, its branches sheltering the disciples, a living testament to nature's generosity and Buddha's eternal teachings. Another day dawned, serene and calm, as the Buddha and his disciples journeyed to a village burdened by escalating disputes. The villagers, divided over fertile land, gathered in angered clusters, their voices rising in discord like storm clouds brewing overhead. Among the crowd, a frail elder stood trembling, seeking peace, his heart heavy with sorrow for his fractured community. Buddha stepped forward, his presence commanding calmness, his gaze soothing. As the villagers paused and turned their attention to him, he gestured to a child, carrying an empty cup, and beckoned the young one forward to stand before the gathered crowd. Tell me, Buddha asked softly, what do you see in this cup? Does it hold value, or is it merely empty? The child hesitated briefly, his small hands gripping the vessel tightly. Before answering, Master, it is empty and has no worth. Buddha's lips curved into a gentle smile as he nodded. Yet, if water were poured, would it not quench thirst? Yes, Master, the child replied earnestly, his eyes wide with wonder. As the villagers murmured among themselves in contemplation, to you who are consumed by disputes, Buddha addressed the crowd. Your minds are as this empty cup, poisoned by anger. The villagers fell silent, the potency of Buddha's analogy sinking deeper, replacing hostility with the seeds of curiosity and reflection. Cleansing the heart, Buddha continued, opens the vessel of your soul. Only then can understanding fill it with peace and clarity. The elder stepped forward, his voice trembling yet resolute. Master, how can we resolve the quarrel between our families over this land? Buddha's gaze turned to the earth, his hands gesturing at the disputed patch, its rich soil scattered with signs of labor. The land belongs not to you, Buddha spoke, his voice serene yet firm. It belongs to nature, to creation itself, and beyond. The villagers exchanged glances, their anger dimming under Buddha's wisdom, as they began to see the land as greater than ownership. Conflict, Buddha said, arises from the illusion of possession. Harmony flourishes when we nurture together what sustains all life equally. A young farmer stepped forward, hesitant yet determined, asking, Master, shall we then forget our claims and labor together for its bounty? Indeed, Buddha replied, his tone unwavering. In unity lies strength. What is shared multiplies. What is hoarded diminishes and burdens the spirit. The villagers nodded slowly, their thoughts aligning with Buddha's truth. As the seeds of reconciliation sprouted among the hearts gathered there, Buddha turned his gaze toward the horizon, his teachings flowing effortlessly, his voice a steady stream of enlightenment for his disciples. Fertile land, Buddha said, can feed many, yet greed renders it barren. Cooperation waters the seeds of harmony and mutual prosperity. A mother, clutching her child, stepped forward, her eyes filled with tears. She asked, "Master, how can we forgive the harm of past?" "Forgiveness," Buddha said gently, "is the nourishment of the soul. It frees the heart from chains of pain and resentment." The child with the empty cup observed silently, his youthful mind absorbing the profound wisdom unfolding in front of his innocent eyes. "Pour water into the cup," Buddha instructed the villagers, "as a symbol of cleansing your spirits and filling them with peace." The villagers began gathering water from nearby wells and streams, pouring together into the cup until it overflowed as an offering. Buddha watched their actions, his expression serene, knowing the act of unity signified the first steps toward healing their fractured bonds. "Master," the elder asked again, "how shall we ensure this harmony continues? How do we prevent disputes from arising in the future?" "Walk the path of mindfulness," Buddha said, "and teach the next generation the values of sharing, compassion, and understanding without prejudice." As dusk approached, Buddha and his disciples prepared to leave the village, carrying the echoes of unity's seeds with them. The villagers promised to nurture the land together, setting aside their grievances, embracing Buddha's teachings as a beacon for generations. From that day forward, peace blossomed across the fertile soil, and the villagers became an example of shared prosperity and harmony. Another day unfolded with tranquility as the Buddha and his disciples arrived in a grove, its air thick with serenity. A young man named Aniruddha approached, his silk robes a stark contrast to the tears streaking his anguished, youthful face. "Master," Aniruddha began with trembling voice, "I've lost my father. Wealth surrounds me, yet emptiness devours my soul completely." Buddha regarded Aniruddha with compassion, observing the veil of sorrow clouding the young man's spirit. As others gathered silently nearby, "Aniruddha," Buddha asked gently, "what do you seek in wealth? Do treasures fill the void left by those who depart this life?" Aniruddha shook his head, his voice heavy with despair. "No, Master, gold means nothing when it cannot restore the warmth of love." Buddha nodded, his gaze unwavering, as the weight of his teachings began to unfold among the attentive disciples and villagers. "Loss," Buddha began, "is the passing of seasons. Grasping for permanence traps the heart and blinds the mind's eye to truth." Aniruddha's tears reflected moonlight as his pain mingled with the recognition of impermanence's role in human existence. His anguish raw. "What should I do, Master?" Aniruddha asked. "How shall I escape this suffering that weighs my heart to unbearable depths?" "Detach from possession," Buddha answered, "for clinging binds the soul to despair. Embrace transience, and discover peace beyond worldly attachments." The disciples leaned closer, absorbing each word that carried the essence of Buddha's teachings into the receptive hearts. Gathered near him, "Love does not die, Aniruddha," Buddha continued. "Its flame burns within you, passed on through virtues, wisdom, and acts of compassion." Aniruddha lifted his face slightly, his anguish momentarily diminished, as Buddha's voice penetrated the layers of sorrow clouding his perception. "Master," Aniruddha asked softly, "how shall I honor my father? His possessions mean little. What legacy do I hold sacred?" Buddha gestured toward the quiet grove surrounding them, its stillness amplifying the profound significance embedded within his imminent words. "Honor through virtue," Buddha replied. "Live with truth, kindness, and compassion. These qualities are inheritance far greater than material wealth." Aniruddha closed his eyes briefly, as if internalizing Buddha's wisdom, his spirit momentarily soothed by the eternal truths offered to him. Buddha turned his attention to his disciples, knowing the teachings must resonate collectively to inspire understanding beyond immediate grief. To all gathered here, Buddha addressed, possessions are transient, love, wisdom, and virtue are immortal legacies passed among humanity eternally. A disciple raised his hand, seeking clarity. Master, does detachment mean rejecting all possessions and responsibilities tied to them completely? Buddha's expression softened, sensing the earnest yearning for clarity that so often accompanied such reflections on life's complexities. Detachment, Buddha explained, means understanding impermanence, not rejecting responsibility. Use possessions mindfully, and release the suffering born of their ownership. The moonlight filtered gently through the grove's canopy, illuminating the faces of those gathered in quiet contemplation of Buddha's teachings. Buddha's gaze returned to Anuruddha, whose tears now reflected both sorrow and a glimmer of hope for the path ahead. Fatherhood transcends material legacy. Anuruddha, Buddha said, your father lives in the kindness and wisdom he passed into your heart. Anuruddha nodded slowly, his thoughts swirling as the profound truth in Buddha's words began to take root within him. Master, Anuruddha asked again, how can I lead my life with purpose, honoring both my father's legacy and your teachings? Serve humanity, Buddha answered. Share your kindness, uplift others, and act with compassion. These are the greatest tributes to life's gifts. The disciples murmured their assent, understanding that humanity's greatest treasures lie in love's acts, not wealth hoarded for fleeting desires. As dawn approached, Buddha prepared to depart the grove, his teachings lingering as eternal threads of guidance within those gathered. Anuruddha bowed deeply before Buddha, his spirit lighter, carrying the seeds of understanding that would transform his grief into mindful living. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.